This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not using my GPS to navigate the land of a thousand dances, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio World.
And welcome to our live studio audience for another exciting edition of Did You Know? And here we go with round one. Did you know?
The COVID vaccine is free and easy to get. You don't need insurance or an appointment to get your vaccine. Vaccines are available at many locations near you.
And now we're going to double the value. Did you know?
The COVID-19 vaccine is always free of cost. You can visit pharmacies, community health centers, and other health providers in your neighborhood.
And now for the lightning round. Did you know?
The Delta variant of COVID is a mutation that has health experts worried because it's twice as contagious.
Then for our finale. Did you know?
The best way to protect yourself from the COVID Delta variant is to get fully vaccinated. Get your vaccine today.
Find out more at kingcounty.gov/vaccine. Did you know?
Mga kaibigan, ito po si Kuya Bert Kawili.
And this is Miles Salvador from Australia.
And I'm Norb Kawili, also known as Norbcam.
Kung gusto niyo po ang latest news and events from the Philippines at the local Filipino community, Phil-Am Radio po.
We play Filipino music and interview guests from all around the world.
And I'll keep you updated on the latest Seahawks and sports news.
Kaya always tune in, Phil-Am Radio every Tuesday, 1 to 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time on Rainier Avenue Radio World.
And in YouTube and Facebook. Salamat po.
Women are not an homogenous group.
We face discrimination differently depending on factors such as ethnicity, age, socioeconomic status, and more.
Rainier Avenue Radio is proud to amplify women's voices.
They are the experts of their own lives, initiating conversations within their community about challenges they face, the solutions they're working on, and the opportunities they see.
Please join us this Sunday from 2 to 5 for Women's Voices on Air. We know our challenges. We are the experts of our lives.
We are master multitaskers, prioritizing our family, friends, and our faith above our own needs.
Our needs and voices are too often overlooked.
Please join us this Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. for Women's Voices on Air.
We tell our stories in our own way.
Do you want to reach out to the Vietnamese community in Seattle? Just advertise in Người Việt Tây Bắc, that is Northwest Vietnamese News, the longest running Vietnamese language newspaper in our region. Go to nvnorthwest.com.
You know you can't get enough of Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Queen Bree's Living Live, broadcasting on Rainier Avenue Radio. It's your host, Queen Bree, and Robyn T. What's going on, Robyn? How are you?
Hi, Queen Bree. I am great. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone, for joining us here on Clean Greens Living Live. We do want to take a moment to acknowledge we are on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Coast Salish people, past and present, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the Duwamish, Suquamish, Nisqually, Snoqualmie, and Muckleshoot tribes. We also acknowledge what has happened on this land to impact the lives of the Black community in Seattle due to redlining, the systemic and oppressive mechanism of anti-Black racism enacted by the white leaders, politicians, business people, and others robbed Black families of the opportunity to build and pass down generational wealth. To share your own story of home or land loss in the central area of Seattle, please contact us here at Clean Greens on behalf of the Black Dollar Days Task Force King County Reparations Project.
I almost forgot that we were on my show. You sounded like one of those info commercials telling us what was going on. Well. Okay, so I just have like two announcements that are coming up with Clean Greens. We have our CSAs that are now open. So if you are interested in or purchasing a CSA for Clean Greens this year, we are now open. You can visit our website at www.cleangreensfarmmarket.com. Also, we are so excited. We are moving to our next steps for our youth farm. So you guys stay tuned. This is so exciting. And I just want to say that I recognize that there's so much going on in this world today. And I want to remind everyone to stay centered. Turn off your social media, turn off the news for a little bit, go for a walk and stay centered, but stay aware and stay woke, but don't let it consume you too much. So we're going to hop in. I'm so excited. We have our guest, Chukundi. I don't want to say your last name wrong. I feel like, I'm going to be honest, I feel like those white people trying to pronounce black names. And I'm like, how do you say his name? And I meant to ask you.
I said Chukundi Salisbury.
Chukundi Salisbury. Okay.
Actually, you know what? And like the HBCU, located in Salisbury, North Carolina.
Okay. Thank you for being. So we welcome Chukundi on our show today. You have an extensive resume. I'm just gonna stick with he is a community leader. I remember you from way back in the day when we used to go to the Kun Love parties.
Yes, I've got that Kun Love too.
Kun Love. But today we are here to talk about your program that you have, a nonprofit. You started a lifestyle nonprofit.
Yeah, so yeah, I got a lot going on, and one of my ventures, a social venture, is called Services Lifestyle, and that's a nonprofit 501c3 here located right here in this area. Our offices over at Jackson Street, and in that program we have the Urban Vote Initiative, where we go out and register people to vote. And of course, we have 100 Black Parents, which puts on Bubbling Brown Sugar and African American Males Weekend, African American Females Weekend, and lots of volunteer events at several schools, most notably Garfield High School. So lots of work in that. And then, recently, one of the things through my own transformation, we've been able to focus on health and wellness as well. One of the other things we focus on with Services of Lifestyle as well is the and it actually came to mind in the opening there, is we've been working through a campaign. We've got a campaign called This House Is Not for Sale, and it's really an anti-gentrification campaign, and so that's one of the things we've been doing as well.
Nice. I was reading your resume and I'm like, don't sleep on this man. It is extensive. He works for the city. He is a community leader. He got his own business going.
Right.
With Clean Greens, we talk about all these things. We are in the community. We are interested in everything. So I want to start though with your health loss, because Clean Greens was first originated because they saw the need in the community to bring fresh organic vegetables, affordable organic vegetables to our community. And one of the things that they wanted to talk about was how in our African American community, heart disease, diabetes is really high, and we wanted to bring education around that. And I know that you went on your own health journey.
Yes.
And I heard that you reversed your diabetes. So talk to us about that.
Yes, I did. So as you mentioned, a lot of people know me as DJ Kun Love. And I would just say that I was probably one of the original bottle boys around here. I worked for Ciroc. I was known for always having at least, 50 bottles of champagne on deck. We popped bottles all the time. And I was already just a big guy. I had a clothing line called Big Fella. And so I had been a big guy for literally almost 30 years, from age maybe 22 all the way to just last year. I've been over 300 pounds. Right. And so basically about 10, 11, almost 12 years ago now, when I was working for Ciroc, and like I said, I was the king of the bottles. And of course, we did all the biggest parties, the Virgo parties and all of those things. I got, like a lot of Black people, I didn't know that I had diabetes. I got the sweats one day, and I was drinking a lot of water. And of course, I thought I was on a water diet. I was like, oh yeah, water's good, right? Until you start drinking gallons of water, right? Like that's how most people find out that they have diabetes. And so I eventually went to the doctor after some procrastination, and my blood sugar, my A1C was about 12.8, which is a high number. My blood sugar was over 500, which is very high. And we all know, or if you don't know, a lot of listeners don't know that diabetes is the silent killer. You really don't know you have it. You could have it for years and it's deteriorating your inside, right? You basically, your body is hot and it burns out your nerve endings. You could go blind, right? That's why they cut off. And when it reduces your nerves, it allows, some people don't feel pain anymore. We all saw Soul Food. Remember Big Mama's arm was on fire because she had the diabetes and she didn't know that she couldn't feel that pain, right? So anyway, long story short, of course, I had diabetes, right? And so when I initially had it, most people, they say, okay, I'm gonna beat this thing, right? And they go out and they try to lose weight. And I did for a little bit, but then I realized that I could manage my blood sugar by taking my medications and self-medicating, basically taking more of the medication, right? So I was supposed to take one pill, but I realized that I could still go out tonight, pop a bottle of champagne. I'll just take an extra pill and maybe that'll help me bring my blood sugar down. Right? And so over the years, I'm going back and forth, right? And at my highest, I was 418 pounds, right? And I was popping bottles, doing my thing. And I got all the way up to, I did get my A1C down to like 9 because I was trying to do my thing, but I wasn't all the way into a healthy lifestyle at that point. Right. So I was managing and I got all the way up to taking sometimes 4 to 5 metformins a day. I was on metformin and glipizide. Anybody with diabetes knows those terms, right? Those are some popular medications that they give us to manage our type 2 diabetes. So, so anyway, I was doing my thing. And then eventually about a couple of years ago, I said, you know what, in 2018, I started making my list of goals that I would have when I turned 50. Because I was like, okay, when I turn 50, I really got to be ready because I want to be healthy at 60. Right. Yeah. But I was totally resigned with just kind of being unhealthy at 48, 49, right? 49 and a half and all of that. Right. And I know it doesn't go like this for most people, but I just woke up one day after I had turned 50 and I said, okay, today's the day and I'm going to change my life. Right. And I know that, everybody says that it was a new year, new me. Right. I was like most people, except for the fact that I stuck with it. Right. So in the January of 2021, I woke up on January 4th and I decided today's the day. And I started walking. Right. Because for me, what I decided to do was I had to do something that I knew I could do sustainable, right? Because you look at all your people online, they either got this meal prep and they're doing all of that good. That's a lot of work, right? Or they're at the gym and they got their phone and they're doing all these reps and they're making reels on Instagram and and it looks all hot, but it's not sustainable, right? For most regular people, right, where they're trying to do all of that. I was like, I'm not trying to do all that. I gotta figure out what's gonna work for me. And for me, it was walking. So I went to the park by my house. I went to Brighton Park and I walked every day for 242 days in a row. And I walked for an hour. And so for me, I did a power walk, right? And that was where I put my headphones on and I walked as fast as I could for the weight that I was bearing. I was 306 pounds at the time, which was significant, right? I came down from 418. So I was doing my thing, but I had plateaued. And so I said, I'm going to really go hard in 2000 when I turned 50 and I'm going to do this, right? So I walked for 242 days in a row. And along the way, I picked up different techniques like intermittent fasting, right? I learned about caloric deficit, right? Basically eating less, right? Because if you're doing the intermittent fasting, you're not eating 3 meals, you're probably eating 2. And so you're eating less and you're burning those calories and my body just started performing at a more optimum rate, right? And so it took me about 6 months. On June 29th of 2021, I went to see my doctor. Shout out to Dr. Luna. A lot of people know him. He's from this community. He lives up in Scotland.
Hey, Dr. Luna.
Yeah, and so Dr. Luna at Valley Medical, and I went and saw him. And my A1C before I started was 8.3. And over a 6-month period of walking every day, of course, watching what I eat and the intermittent fasting, right? I reduced my A1C, which is the long-term number that shows you if what your over time your blood sugar is. and my A1C came down to 5.7. Right. So that in turn, once I got down to under 6, I was no longer needed to take any medication. And so my doctor took me off all my meds. And
Nice.
and so my blood sugar has remained low. I'll always have type 2 diabetes, or have the ability to have it. Like if I was just to go out and eat at the Cheesecake Factory every night, right? It just it could come back, right? But I, in fact, reversed it. So what I like to tell people about this process is that type 2 diabetes is a gift that you give yourself, right? I gave it to myself by excessive lifestyles. I was the Rick Ross of Seattle. I popped all the bottles. I worked for Diddy.
I'm a witness to that.
Right? And so I did all of those things, and I gave myself diabetes. And then I woke up and was like, okay, it's time to turn the diabetes back in, right? And I gave it back. Right. So that's kind of, my story in a nutshell of how I was able to really through consistency and develop my own program that worked for me personally. Right. And everybody's body's different and everybody responds differently. But that's how I personally was able to reverse my type 2 diabetes. I lost a total of 70 pounds over 7 months. And and so of course now I can shop at Costco. I wear XL, right? And oftentimes on my social media, I say, I'm living an XL life now. At one time, I wore a 6XL, right?
Wow.
So it's funny.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
That is an accomplishment.
Oh, it really is. It really is. And and so I like to down talk a lot of things. I know Daniel knows. Whatever, right? So I kind of played it back a lot on things, but on this one, I'm really front and center. It's a real accomplishment. And I just, I like to thank you for having me on the show to really, I just like to be able to tell people about this story and that it's possible, because I get so many calls from people where they just don't know. And part of the problem, right, of course, is our pharmaceutical industrial complex, right? And so one of the things I talk about all the time is I ask people, when you think of diabetes commercials, right? And everybody we hear about diabetes all the time, but what does the television and the radio and social media tell you about diabetes? It tells you that if you take this, insert Trulicity or whatever other medication, metformin, you can manage your type 2 diabetes. There's really not a lot of people out there talking about that you can reverse your type 2 diabetes, which is why I was so excited to come on the show and talk to you guys today about this, because we really need to and there's a lot of people out there that, when you get to talking to them, there's a lot of people that have reversed it, but it's kind of like an urban myth because every day you only hear about how you can manage your type 2 diabetes. There's no commercial that says, hey, through diet and exercise, and clean greens, if you will, you can, in fact, reverse your type 2 diabetes, right? They just say with diet and exercise and this medication,
you can manage.
And basically manage equals have this condition for life. And I wasn't willing to have it for life, right? Because I don't know what some of these medications can do for your kidneys and everything else. But quite frankly, in
the commercials, they be like, side effects may include.
Yeah, right.
Then they get real low with it.
So I was kind of always worried about that. But then also, I want to retire, right? Like I said, I'm turning 50. I'll be 52 this year. And I looked at my flexible spending account and what these medications cost. Right. And so, of course, I am super blessed and highly favored. I like to say I work for the city of Seattle, where I manage the urban food systems program.
Yeah, we was going to mention we're going to be working with you a little bit more.
Right. And so, but when I retire, right, I'll be off of that great health insurance that we have. And I started looking at what medications cost. Right. And I did not, of course, and I just to be clear, I'm going to do well in retirement, right? I don't want anybody to be like, oh, Kun was on there talking about he not going to have no money. Kun is always going to have money.
Don't sleep on him.
Because I'm a hustler, homie, right? Be clear. I will always be good. But, when you go to the pharmacy, have you ever seen some of those people? And it's so sad where they've actually trying to choose between their medication or some food, right? And I say, you know what, that's not going to be me. So let me start getting off the whatever medication I can get rid of now, right? Let me get rid of that because I don't want to be paying right for these meds later on down the road too.
And they're expensive.
Yeah, facts. And so my medications towards the end there, I was doing my flexible spinning. My medications cost over $10,000 a year, right? But of course, to be clear, I was only paying, between $800 and maybe $1,000, which is still a lot, right? But an insurance was paying the rest, right?
And just to think about all the people out there that don't have that great insurance,
right?
How much they're probably paying or can't afford.
Yeah.
That's why they have the commercials out there.
Well,
that's why no one's paying for the commercials to say just be healthier and you don't need to have these. Who's paying, all those commercials?
And you're completely right. And if you listen to those commercials now, because I think, and it's not just because of me, of course, but people are starting to look to say, okay, well, man, this isn't fair. These, a lot of older folks that are on fixed income, they can't afford their medication. So now at the end of those commercials, what do you hear? If you cannot afford this medication, they say you can call this phone number. They'll give you a scholarship, right? Or something. They'll throw you a bone, right? But they're not reducing or telling you that basically you don't need this medication. They're saying, no, you need it. And in fact, if you can't afford it today, don't worry about it. Because we don't want people to really know that they don't.
Yeah, they don't want us healthy. They want us at a specific, they want us to be unhealthy. If you're just tuning in, you're tuning in to Clean Greens Living Live, broadcasted on Rainier Avenue Radio. You are joining us with our guest, Chukundi Salisbury, and we are talking about health. And you have your quote, health is the real bag.
Well, yeah, you know what? And I came up with that,
Me
right?
too.
Because people say health is wealth, right? And but I just wanted to put it in more of an urban term, like I'm a DJ, I'm a promoter. I've done shows with everybody from Ross to Nicki to 2 Chainz to whoever, right? And so that's a term that I feel like many people in my demographic or my sphere of influence will really recognize that the bag, right? Like that's a term that we have now, secure the bag, right?
Yeah.
And so health is wealth. It's usually a person, I think, and no disrespect to my healthy people out there that look amazing, right? But the people that are telling you to be healthy, they're always like this person that was like a cheerleader in high school. They still look good. Or it's like some cat that was like this athlete guy and he's an Adonis and he's a trainer now and whatever, right? He's like, you should get healthy, right? I just wanted to kind of put it in terms of like, okay, look, this really is the bag, right? Especially when you start getting my age, right? And so what we have to figure out, and it's what I tell people in the barbershop. I say, okay, well, look, right? We're all, because in my circle, a lot of people is like 48, 47, 45. And I say, well, you want to retire, right? So you kind of get that conversation going. And you say, well, man, what are you going to need when you retire, right? We all want to be rich, right? We all want to have money. I said, wouldn't it be dope to have like $6 million in the bank, right? Retire 62, do your thing, hang out, right? But would you rather have $6 million in the bank and retire, but you can't leave the house because you can't move your joints? You're on a million medications, right? You're on the nebulizer, right?
Right.
Or would you rather have 600,000 in your health?
Right.
Quality of life.
Quality of life, right? And so when you start thinking about that, that's the money, right? And so that was another catalyst for me too, on how, because people say, wow, you walked 242 days in a row. I never missed a day. I walked in the snow. I walked in the rain. I walked when it was 90 degrees outside and everybody was sweating. It was still 90 like at night. Remember that?
I remember that.
100 during the day. I walked all those days, right? And the thing that kept me going, everybody has to have their own motivation, right? And of course they said, well, you should just do this because you want to be healthy. That's not what kept me going. Mm-hmm. What kept me going was I started treating my walk like it was a DJ gig. Like it was real money.
Nice.
Even though I'm not getting paid to go for my walk, but that's what would get me off the couch because, like I said, I'm a hustler and I've always been able to go and get the bag, right? Like I'm a person that secures.
But those are good tools. Like I enjoy your story because even when she told me that you reversed your diabetes, and I started thinking like, what, like I need to talk to this man, because like I've been saying I'm gonna lose weight for years, right? But it's like that what was that? And it's like you just was like, I woke up one day and you were realistic about it, because I know a lot of people be like, you got to work out at least 3 times a week, and you got to do this and that meal planning, and it's like I'm a hustler too, not as great as you are though, but but you know,
giving yourself credit.
we're busy, and it's like, how did you said you treated it like a gig, so I guess that was the answer.
Well,
like
that was the answer, right? So I initially started out like most people, right? I got through the first 2 to 3 weeks of walking every day, no problem. But of course, you know that man, on that 22nd day, you're like, man, I don't feel like going, right? And you have to come up with this other motivation, which is why people wash out of the gym, right? We all go for the first 3 weeks. We sign up, Planet Fitness says, hey, it's only $20, get your black card, whatever, right? And people go for 3 weeks, but then they lose that motivation. So me personally, right, what worked for me was I had to start looking like, I started saying to myself, okay, how can I basically kind of lie to myself and motivate myself to be out here and make it happen? And how I did that was, again, looking at like this hour, somebody paid me already to go.
You put the value into it.
Yeah, because there's no way, like if you had paid me to come DJ your wedding reception, right? And you know, that's a big deal. I got a contract with you. I got to be there. Everybody's expecting me to be there. And so I put that kind of pressure on myself. Like I treated my walk like it was a paid gig. And I in my mind, I was like, okay, well, this is paying. I'm getting paid down the road. Right. I'm not getting paid today, but I'm getting paid in years added to my life.
That's brilliant.
Yes.
That's a brilliant method of your own accountability.
Yeah. And everybody's got to do what they got to do, right? Because like a lot of people call me and say, well, Kun, you know, my method might not work for you, right? What, maybe it's your kids. Maybe you got to look at a picture of your kids every day and say, man, I got to be here when they graduate from high school or college. I want to be at my child's wedding, like whatever your motivation is. But for me, and I know I shouldn't say it like this, but I like the money, right? And so that's one of the things that really motivates me. And so I was able to kind of, like I said, translate that into the bag.
I was going to ask about that too, because your identity, you had this identity for so long, and then you changed yourself a little bit, but you kind of kept your identity. So it seems like you kind of put that into play to keep yourself motivated.
Yeah. You know, I'm gonna always be, you know, Kun Love, and I got that identity. But you know what? One thing about hip hop, right, and the urban movement, if we will, if you don't reinvent yourself and stay hot somehow, you're gonna fall off, right? And if you look at all of our, you know, hip hop luminaries, they've reinvented themselves every few years. Diddy went from Diddy to P Diddy to, you know, the whatever you know called
Love.
Yeah, the Love, right? You know what I mean? And so
I don't know why I keep up with that, but I see it.
Well, I'm just saying, if you want to stay on and stay in the mix, you have to reinvent yourself. And so, me personally, you know, I'm still the person I was, and I still DJ and all of that, but you know, I'm reinventing myself. And so when, you know, young DJs are out here, you don't have to think, okay, I'm gonna knock Kun Love off, right? I'm gonna be the next guy. Great, you do that, because I'm not trying to be that person anymore. I'm a new person. You know what I mean? In fact, I left half of me behind.
Right. But you done did your thing. So it could never be another Kun Love. Okay.
Right.
They can come in here, but we still remember the parties. We still remember who you are. We still remember.
Well, like I said, man, you know, I just want to always be relevant and be of service to the community. And one thing that we find, and I see we're short on time, but one of the things we find is that a lot of times we have people with a great message in our community, but they have no platform or authenticity, right? But they really speaking the truth. And then you have people like me that have this great platform. They have a lot of pull, a lot of juice, but all they're using that juice for is to say, come to the club Friday, drinks a rock, right? And so what I'm trying to do is utilize both of those things, right? While I still have this platform, people still listen to me. I want to be able to talk about something that is extremely relevant, like health.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. I mean, you motivated me. I got my, I'm going to do this. Look, come see me I'm going to give myself 21 days and we'll come back and we'll talk about this. I know I said this last year, but you inspired me for real this time.
Let's go, man.
Like you said, reinventing yourself. All right. Thanks for joining Clean Greens Living Live, broadcasted on Rainier Avenue Radio. We'll see you next week.
All right.
Bye.
Peace, y'all.